back to Delusions of Grandeur. I am your host, David Stregi, and here in the room with me, I have my very young Croatian friend with me, Boris. How are you doing today?
Hi, I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
Appreciate you coming back on so that we can discuss these movies together. Um,
Oh, thank you.
Today, since last week we went on about John Bowker's The Seekers,
Oh, yeah.
we decided to go on about his another film of his called Housebound, also filmed
Yes.
in 2003.
Uh,
So, um, why don't you tell me when you first and just so you know, folks, spoiler warning. There are going to be spoilers ahead while we're talking about this film. So, now that you've been warned, I'd turn back if I were you and watch the movie before you listen to our discussion. So,
yeah.
um, bearing that in mind, what were your first impressions of this film when you first saw it? How did you come across it first?
Well, like I mentioned in our previous live streams, I was originally collecting John Bowker's and Joe Sherlock's movies with this actress Felicia Pandolfi from The Seekers. But then I found myself wanting to collect and watch other John Bowker's and Joe Sherlock's movies, and Housebound was one of them.
Okay.
So,
So, how many copies of Housebound do you have?
well, I have two. I have this one and this one, which also comes with The Seekers.
Which helps so much because I also have a different version.
Uh, oh, I don't have that one yet. I must find a copy somewhere.
This one has a different film from a different director on it as well, and that one's called Phobias, but
Oh,
it's distributed by Sub Rosa Studios and
uh,
called Nightmares on Blood Street, but it has Housebound, the director's cut, on here. So
oh,
I don't know if that's the same, but it's a limited edition to this set. So um, I think that they didn't have too many of these when they put them out, and I ended up getting it for a buck or something like that. That was kind of neat. Uh,
oh.
but
I
in any case, so you were introduced to them once you found your copies. So, what was your first impression of the film? What did you think about it?
Well, I have to say there was one issue I had with this movie, although it's not actually the movie's fault. It's this cover art where, as you can see, we see Kylene Wetherill's character, the main character of the movie, with this texture of swollen red veins, which very soon after the beginning of the movie, we find out that when someone gets bitten by this alien monster, this texture appears all over their body, and they die very soon. So this cover art made me think the main character was going to die. So the first time I was watching the movie, my attention was on what was going to happen to her, and how and when and why. So it was kind of distracting me from following the main plot of the movie. But
Well,
yeah,
we're going to break the what the plot of this film is down for us. So, in the very beginning, we have some people that are out in the woods. This is the introduction period where apparently they're in the. It looks like a couple of hunters are
y-
are in the woods in the very beginning, like a man and a woman or something like that, and suddenly they're running from something. You don't exactly see what it is, but you see the camera moving towards them and hunting them down. And right before the last kill shot, you see a or last victim, so to speak.
yes,
She
yes,
you see her gun shoot, and you don't know whether they survived or not. So that part in itself is confusing. Do they survive or do they not? But after that, then you realize that there is a young man by the name of Terry, who is played by
yes.
who
Alan
is played by
Winston.
Alan Winston. Is
Yes,
and he is riding in the car with Nancy.
yes, Nancy, the main character's sister.
Yeah. So Nancy and Terry are on their way back to their home, or back to Nancy's home, where her sister
Yes,
is she's got this fear, this agoraphobia, which is the fear of going out anywhere. Correct.
yes, correct. There is a moment when we see her leave the house and she passes out immediately. So that's how bad her phobia is.
So apparently, um, the sisters are both kind of still reeling from the accident of their parents. Evidently, it seems like somewhere in their parents were like in a bad accident or something like that, and that's one thing that kind of led to her. Because she has agoraphobia, but Nancy herself is having nightmares from this accident, isn't she?
Yes, we saw Nancy wake up from a nightmare and scream. And now about Heidi and her agoraphobia, I think she told Terry she always had that fear. So I'm not sure if it has to do with her parents' death or not, but it probably at least made it worse, if nothing else, as if her parents were no longer with her, it was even more difficult for her to fight that phobia, I believe.
Well, I know I watched this for the first time yesterday, so I definitely feel like many of John Bowker films and Joe Sherlock films are often weird and mysterious, and so um, I'm going to go backwards a little bit. So Terry has actually gone and cut down a tree from
Yes.
the forest, and it just so happens that this tree has an alien creature hiding within it.
Yes, it was probably the same creature that those two hunters at the beginning were dealing with.
Correct. And when he brings it, you could almost call this movie a Christmas movie, almost, because
Well, yeah.
it's apparently around Christmas time. So he thinks because she's always home, why not bring this Christmas tree to come and celebrate Christmas
Uh,
with them?
yes, well, they were talking about Christmas in July, as far as I remember. So I think it was actually summertime, but they mentioned something about how they didn't get to celebrate Christmas properly. So this was their way to make up for it, if I understood correctly.
Correct. And Terry has some feelings for our young agoraphobic sister, although she does not reciprocate the feelings entirely. So,
Yes. Yes, there is this one scene where they talk about it, and he says how he feels about her, but she prefers to stay friends with him, which he accepts. But as far as I saw, we don't really get to see much further about how it makes him feel.
Correct, because he actually leaves because he can't deal with his emotions at the moment.
Well, yes, but then they meet again in another scene, and it's kind of like that conversation didn't happen. It wasn't mentioned again, if I remember correctly.
No, it wasn't. She ended up calling him back later to have her come and sit with him or sit with her because she didn't want to be alone. But
Yes.
that's besides the point. Apparently, like we said, there was a creature inside this tree.
Oh, yes.
So
Yes.
what exactly did this creature do?
Well, it was hiding in the tree. These main characters weren't aware of its presence, and uh, as far as I understood, it was living at night when nobody saw it, and it was going around and attacking other people. These characters who were appearing just to get killed off almost immediately.
Well,
To
it seemed like there was a motel somewhere nearby.
uh, I think so. Well, there were several characters who were getting killed by this alien creature, uh, and I think those scenes were included to show us what the creature was capable of doing,
Correct.
to uh, to let us know the danger the main characters were in without even knowing it.
And with only seeing it a little bit on the floor or whatnot, what did you think about the creature in general?
Well, I must say it looked very interesting, especially regarding the fact this is a fairly old shot on video movie where they couldn't do much with CGI effects. So I think they somehow made this creature out of some physical materials and performed some tricks to make it look like it's moving on screen. I actually don't know how they did it, but it was very interesting.
Cool. Now, there is a certain thing that the creature does that I thought was very interesting, where it sucks the blood. It seems like it sucks the blood from the bodies, and then it turns and melts the body down to nothing.
Yes, yes. When the creature attacks the person's body, like I mentioned before, at first this texture of swollen red veins, uh, 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 this texture appears on their bodies, and then they melt into some red and yellow goo, and well, I wouldn't say they quite disappear because these hunters, these men in black, they found them. They know what's happening. They know about the creature killing people.
Yep, and they have to dispose of the bodies, so they're kind of like um, we don't know exactly what these men are entirely. They look like CIA agents or someone who would protect the president, for all we know. No, but they're like Men in Black in a
uh,
sense. but we
Ye-
don't really get to know exactly what they are until the very end. It's almost like they wanted to keep that a mystery from us. But uh, since this was my first experience with the film, I liked it myself. I liked the fact that it was a kind of an alien, and it lived in a tree, but a Christmas tree of some sort, a pine tree. But
yes.
I guess if we had an alien invasion or of some sort that was dangerous, living in pine trees wouldn't be probably a bad idea to blend in. What do you think?
Phew. Well, I'm not sure. As far as I saw, we only had one creature in this movie. There wasn't. We didn't see too many of them, and the Men in Black were after that one, as far as I understood.
Well,
But
at the
but yeah,
go ahead.
yeah. If there were many such creatures, then pine trees probably wouldn't be a good permanent solution for them.
But in any case, so as the night plays out, Nancy has to go with her friend Steph, who is
Yes,
played by Kenzie Wetherill, who I think may or may not be someone related to Heidi's character, the our
uh,
agoraphobic sister.
uh,
For
well,
she is played by actress Kylene Wetherill.
yes. In real life, they might be related, but I don't know. I don't really know if they are, but well, probably they are.
I'm pretty sure that they are. But in any case, ultimately, the lights go out while Terry and her are playing a game. And so he has to go off and um, go and turn the lights back on. And the lights are past this barn on the land where apparently they live. And
Yes.
he hears a noise. So he goes to his trunk. Apparently, he's old enough to have a gun, or
Yeah.
whatnot. We're out in the boonies, so evidently 17-year-olds can have guns. And this is not this this is not just your regular run of the mill gun. It actually looks like it's got a scope on it or something like that, doesn't it?
I'm sorry, I didn't understand what you just said.
The gun that he picked out of his trunk,
Yes.
didn't it look like it was more than just a shotgun?
Well, I think, yeah, I actually didn't pay so much attention to the gun. Uh,
well, well, I did, and it looked like it was a high-powered rifle. Um, Maybe a 40-06 or something like that. But it actually looked like it had a scope. It may not have. I'm not entirely sure. It was my first time watching this film, but the gun looked a little bit more than just your regular shotgun.
uh, well, yeah. Oh, well, it's here on the front cover. Is it this gun?
Quite
I like
possibly.
Like I said, I didn't pay much attention to it. I was more focused on how the encounter between Terry and the creature was going to play out. So,
Correct. So apparently, he went and apparently found it possibly creeping around the barn.
uh,
Meanwhile, Nancy had forgotten her wallet
mm,
back at home, correct?
yes, so she had to go back. practically just to be there during the culmination scene.
And she ultimately found where Terry was. Terry ended up being killed in the process by
Yes,
this
sadly.
creature. And what ended up happening?
Uh, so the creature killed Terry, and if I remember correctly, it also found Steph in the car and killed her too. And Uh, so Nancy went back to the house, and she and Heidi had to get out, which was a challenge for Heidi because of her agoraphobia. But then Heidi actually got bitten by this alien creature, and then uh,
Which made
uh,
us think that she was the worst for wear, and that
that
she
she
was
was what?
actually that she was the worst for wear, and that she was actually going to die.
Yes, yes, like the cover suggests, which was fortunately wrong because the men in black arrived and they saved her and finally put an end to that creature. And then they explained to Nancy what that creature was and who they were, but uh,
Well, and before the show, you had actually asked me a couple of questions because you were confused about a couple of things. What were you confused about at first?
Well, yes, as I may have mentioned before, I am not a native English speaker, and sometimes I struggle to distinguish words in spoken English. So, in this case, I wasn't able to distinguish much of what the man in black said, so I didn't quite understand the story they told Nancy. So I
Well,
was going to ask you.
I believe this is. They told her that they were not of this earth.
Yes,
For certain, and that they were an alien creature called the Gorgonites,
I think they said the Gorganians or something like.
Gorganians.
I,
Correct.
I
So it was called an Organian, and apparently it came here to possibly populate the Earth because its world had been destroyed, or something like that. I
oh
think. I think that's what it said. I can always go back. But the other question I think you had is why was Nancy so down? Why was she such a uh, depressing creature? And
well, yeah.
and to me, both sisters lost parents. So
Yes.
that right away would put me in a bad mood if I lost my mom or my dad. Every time I think of them, they would.
Well,
I'd probably be sad. I'm not sure if I would be cranky like her, but she was like cranky and sarcastic and just rude to some people.
yes, so as you mentioned, it probably also had to do with the fact she had some sort of responsibility over Heidi because
Correct.
of her agoraphobia.
Correct. And having lost their parents, she had to step in and become that ultimate parent figure,
Well,
possibly.
well, in a way, yes, because
Depending
Heidi
on how
wasn't.
long, depending on how long ago they lost their parents, although it seems like it was relatively recent.
Well, I, maybe I misunderstood something, but I actually thought their parents' accident happened when Heidi and Nancy were just little girls because there is this flashback where Heidi is speaking to her babysitter, this woman named
Yeah,
Emily, and Emily asks her why she spent so much time in her parents' bedroom. So it kind of sounded like the parents were already dead,
that's the
unless
thing
I
that was
misunderstood something.
that's the thing that was confusing, because they did kind of interlude with the babysitter's story of why of why she didn't like to go outside, because
Oh,
she said she actually, so the babysitter actually tells the story of when she was a little girl
oh
and how
yes.
she lost her way in the woods, and she
Uh,
thought, and then in these woods she found this graveyard.
yes, and it made her think about death
Death.
and things like that.
And then when she by that time her emotions had already been heightened, and shortly when she went out of the graveyard she swears she saw the Grim Reaper, and
Uh,
it followed her.
yes, and as far as I remember, after she escaped the Grim Reaper, there wasn't much further talk about it, so it was possibly just her imagination caused by her fear, because the time she spent at the graveyard made her fear that she might never find her parents and never see them again.
Correct,
But
which to a little girl, speaking to this small little girl, which so happens to be our young Heidi. If that's something the babysitter was telling her with how young she was, don't you think that would have
uh,
scared her for her entire life? That
well, yes, actually, while I was watching that scene, I wondered why would this woman suddenly tell some scary stories to a child? Why scare her even more?
well,
Like,
not only did her parents die, but and go to heaven. She's being told about the Grim Reaper out in his woods and the graveyard, thoughts of death at a very young age. That alone would, if I were a female, uh, make me not want to go out anywhere and say "fuck you" to everyone who said, "Hey, let's go to a party" or something like that, and I'd be like, "No, Grim Reaper's not going to get me.
well, yeah.
Boogeyman's out there, man. The rapist that's right down the street could be there. No, sir."
Indeed. Well, as far as I understood, Heidi already had her agoraphobia, but what the babysitter told her probably made it even worse.
Most definitely. I mean, who knows what starts some of these phobias? I mean, when you're very young, sometimes the things you most fear become your long lifetime fears. Is there anything you're afraid of?
Well, it might be a bit silly to say, but I am kind of afraid of bees and wasps
Okay.
because I had a really bad experience with them when I was younger. At one point, a bee or a wasp, I wasn't sure what it was, it somehow flew inside my shoe as I was walking, and
Ooh.
it, yeah, it stung me in the foot. And I got an allergic reaction and had to get an injection soon afterwards. So
Now,
it was
do you
really.
have to have one of those bee pens around just in case, or are you deathly allergic to bees even now?
Well, well, no, it wasn't. It wasn't really life-threatening, but I got some sort of rash on my foot, and I had to get an injection in order to make it disappear, and well, it wasn't maybe too dangerous altogether, but it wasn't a nice experience, especially because that insect flew inside my shoe. It was very strange for that to happen. Some people didn't even believe it was possible, and it made me very careful when I walk somewhere where there could be bees or wasps around. I am always careful not to step on some of them or something like that. Uh,
I know my one of my fears has nothing to do with that. It has something to do with being in the dark and in a small space. Um, More or less because one of the schools that I went to actually abused me
oh
when I
my.
was yeah they would, even if I was not even acting up or anything like that, they would stick me in this room called the snow room, and would not let me out. They would shut the lights off, and I would pound on the door for them to let me out, and they just wouldn't. So I eventually ran away from that school when I was like 14, 15, like 13, 14.
Oh, well,
But
I understand.
my mom eventually found out what they were doing and got me out of there. But um, ever since then, if I'm in a confined space and it's dark, let me the fuck out.
Oh, so your your fear is kind of the opposite of Heidi's fear.
Correct. Um, I don't want to be in a tight space for very long in the total dark. I mean, where you can't even see in front of your face.
Well, yes, I can imagine. I know what bullies can be like. They always prey on people who have some sort of mental obstacle. If the bullies see a way to put someone like that through a bad situation, to make their fear kick in and then see their reaction, they will usually do it.
So, from what I understand, John Bowker's production company is Pipe Dreams Entertainment,
Yes.
and this was distributed and by two of the executive producers of this film, Tim Ritter being one of them, and Ron Bonk being another one of them. But
Yes.
Tim Ritter, at one point in time, was in charge of a branch of Sub Rosa Cinema called Sub Rosa Midwest, and
Oh.
that was the company that he used under which that he helped distribute this, even though Sub Rosa was the mother company of the distribution company. But that was Tim Ritter's branch that he was in charge of for a while. So if you see that on your copy somewhere where it says Sub Rosa Midwest, that is the a branch of the company that Tim Ritter because I believe they called it the Midwest so that they could take care of independent directors that were from the Midwest or in the West. Because I think Ron Bonk um, was in California or something like that, or based in
Oh.
California. So
Wow, I didn't know that. Now that you mentioned it, I think I saw this Sub Rosa Midwest logo at the beginning of the movie, but on the cover,
it just
I
says Sub Rosa.
yes, Sub Rosa Unbound. That's what it says. Let's see if I can show it on camera. Oh, here.
Mine says Sub Rosa Unbound SRS Cinema as
Uh,
well.
Oh, oh yes, I think that logo maybe
The newer
exists
logo.
somewhere. Oh, oh, I have that one on this other edition.
Gotcha.
Yeah, uh,
I believe
yeah.
I may also have this on that double feature somewhere too. Um, I'm not entirely sure because I picked up a bunch of double feet. Yeah, that one. That one I think I
Uh,
have somewhere. Just
yes,
not sure.
uh, the title on the spine is House on Bloodbath Hill, so maybe that will make it easier for you to find it.
Most definitely. But in any case, um, what did you think about the effects of um, everything? Thing? What did you think of how the creature sucked the blood? Did you like how it shot off into different veins? See, to me, that was a small CGI effect.
Well, yes, yes, I think that was a CGI effect, especially those swollen veins appearing on the bitten person's body.
It's very
Yes, I.
hard. It's very hard to think that that was a practical effect.
Well, yeah, I actually liked it. I
Right.
know back then it wasn't easy to create very realistic CGI effects, especially
Well,
not for.
back in this time, this is when CGI was just beginning.
Well, yeah,
So I like the fact that this had a very interesting mix of both special, just regular special effects, because you have the what looks like egg yolk and
yes.
ketchup in with the mix, but um, you get the wide variety of different effects in with the stuff with the thing that the alien does to its victims.
Yeah, it was really cool, and well, I generally when I watch independent movies, I am not too picky about CGI effects. Like even if they are not always quite realistic, I am actually aware that those filmmakers probably weren't really able to do it any more realistic. So I know they did the best they could. So
Well,
uh,
some you can really tell that they did the best you can, but there are some basement movies out there where they don't use any effects, and you can tell it's crap, and you can tell that their acting just really sucks, and it's not there. So, I mean, if you can, to me, I don't think we really had a basement movie here. I think we had a decent storyline. I think we had interesting characters.
indeed, John
Um,
Bowker. I can't complain about his movies.
well, and
I like them all.
there was definitely some character development going on here somewhere, and although I wish I could have seen a little bit more of the creature, just a
Uh,
little bit more of what it looked like exactly, instead of just a little scurrying along the ground or whatnot. I wish I would have seen it in depth. You know what I
uh,
mean?
yes, I do. The fact we don't really get to see much of it kind of reminded me of the first Alien movie, where if you don't know what an alien looks like, then in the first movie, at least until near the end, you don't really know what it looks like. You only see some small parts of it, and not knowing what it looks like makes it even more terrifying. It's the fear of the unknown.
Very true. Sometimes that is the case. But in this case, because I've seen so many creatures in so many movies, I kind of, me personally, maybe I'd like to see the creature a little bit more just to see what it actually looks like. You know what I
Well,
mean?
indeed.
That is my only complaint.
Well, yeah, although the fact we don't see the creature completely probably also has to do with the fact they had to keep the creature moving to make it look alive because it was probably made of some inanimate objects, and if we got to see it, if we got to see it on screen for a longer time, it probably wouldn't be so easy to keep it in motion.
Very true. Very true. So, altogether, what did you think of this? Did you notice any of the music behind it? It seemed like it had some band music in there. There's some heavy metal music in there somewhere.
Oh yes, I noticed in this movie there were some songs and also some background music which I don't remember hearing in other John Bowker or Joe Sherlock's movies, which was very interesting. And the songs sounded really good. I was going to look them up online, but haven't gotten to it yet.
Neither have I. I was actually going to look in the back of the credits just to see if I could find out like the names of the songs because it see to me, in order to use a song, you have to get like permission to go and use the song from the artist. So it
Yes.
must have been a local band or something that. And the credits were different in the end of this one than the other one. So I didn't really have time to go through and look for the. Since the IMDb page isn't entirely
Yes,
accurate,
but you are
entirely got everything accurate either.
yes, but you are going to fix it, right?
Yes, I am. You're darn tootin' I am. In any case, well, I appreciate you being able to come on and talk about this film. Next week, I figure we'll go on about what is it, Dreamers, uh,
Dream Walkers.
Dream Walkers, which is
Oh, yay!
Another John Bowker film. And then I figured we'd branch out a little bit and talk about a different film here and there. That way we get a
Oh,
little bit. That way, even though we're talking about films that you know well, you know, maybe we'll talk about some one that you don't know well.
yeah, actually, I at first I thought that next time we were going to talk about that movie you suggested, the one with Klaus from the outer space. I forgot what it was called, but
We can if you want talk about two movies at once, but that would take a longer time period to talk about both of them.
well,
But I'm game if
now
you are.
now that you suggested discussing Dreamwalkers first, I would actually be happy because I really like Dreamwalkers a lot. It's one of my favorite John Bowker's movies. So
Well,
if you prefer to,
I wouldn't mind rewatching it myself because it's actually kind of almost more lyrical and fantasy
oh
than
yes,
some of his other films. So, in any case, thank you for coming on.
you're
Appreciate
welcome.
appreciate spending time with you with some of these films. I mean, we got. Did you have anything else to say about this film before we wrap this up here?
Well, I'm not sure, except for like I mentioned before, I'm going to try to find a copy of this edition you have, as I don't have that one yet, and I
Well, and
want to.
and I'm going to see if I can't eventually get a copy of some of the editions that you have if I don't
Oh,
have them.
oh, cool.
So I think we're kind of both gonna try to find. I know I know it's taken me a long time to track down some of the Sub Rosa Cinema films, um,
Yes.
but I have quite a few of them. If you ever wanted to go on about them, so
uh, Well, I do have some of them. I don't have them right here at hand, but I have the Seekers, of course, my
of course.
favorite one. Then Housebound, as we're discussing, Bloodsucking Redneck Vampires, and its second edition called Inbred Redneck Vampires. I have Twisted Illusions too.
I
Uh,
have a film that is more out of print called Inbred Alien Redneck Abductions or something like that, or
oh,
trying to think.
I don't have that one. I
Inbred Alien. I'm trying to Inbred Redneck Alien Abduction. If I can find where I put my copy, would you like to go on about
I would, yes, why not?
it?
I have a few other Sub Rosa DVDs. I have Hugh Gallagher's movies, Gorgasm, Gorotica, Gore Horror, and Dead Silence.
Oh, okay, those. I ended up picking up those too. Those are a little bit more extreme, but from what I understand, but I have not as yet watched them. Have you?
I have, yes. Uh, my favorite one was Gorgasm and Gore Horror.
I believe there is one more that is being added to that. Not, I believe one called Dead Residents is um, being made by Sean Donahue, which I'll have to introduce you to his stuff
Oh,
eventually.
I haven't seen that one. Yeah, you could introduce me.
Chris Wood's stuff, which
Oh,
I'll have to get you into.
I have Chris James Woods, right?
Let's see. American Holocaust is one of his
I
films.
I haven't seen it. I bought some DVDs from him, but I don't actually know how in what ways he was involved with the production. I
Well,
bought.
I will have to. We will have to start with his very first short film that I have, Chameleon, um,
Oh,
which is it is a short film, and we'll have to go all the way up. Check out his films or whatnot down the road. But I would definitely love to go on with you about Killer Clowns from Outer Space because that is one of my favorites. So
oh, I'm looking forward to it as well. I haven't seen it yet, but I will.
I'll get you a copy as soon as I can, and I'll give it to you in ISO form so that you can burn it to or copy it to something.
Oh, thank you. Well, I usually prefer to buy official DVD copies, especially of independent movies, as
Well, this one
I
isn't
know.
independent. It's more mainstream. But it was independent at the time that it came out. So,
Oh, I understand. Well, I'm looking forward to it, and when I have more money, I hope I will buy my own copy. So,
definitely, man. Alrighty. Well, appreciate your time. I think that's all the time we have for today, folks. And definitely stay tuned for next week as we go on about Dream Walkers. I mean,
Oh,
there was.
I'm excited about that one.
So am I. So am I, man. Alrighty, so
Thank
I'm
you.
gonna end it. So say goodnight to everyone.
Good night, everyone. Thank you.
Alrighty, let's see.